sustain in that third quarter. Did a good job with the field position in that quarter. And really behind the 8 ball on the field position battle in the third, and ended up being a big factor in what we did. But a lot to build off in the game, off of in the game, and a lot to learn from. And we will learn from it, and that's our job. Margin of error is small. It's very small, and we've got to be able to sustain for the entire game, and get to the third quarter and be able to continue. And hey, look, you come out and they go down the field, we've got to be able to answer. We've got to be able to, if we do go 3 and out, be able to come back the next drive and rebound from it. And that's what happened in the second half. We got kind of spotty in some of the areas of play. All phases. We're one phase, so it was all phases that we've got to continue to improve on. And like I said, we'll learn from this. We had a lot of new guys out there that played a lot of meaningful downs tonight. A lot of downs, and a lot of them did. We had some big plays made by some new guys out on the field. And it's encouraging those guys can go out and do that. At the same time, we've got to be able to do it for the entirety of the football game. So really those middle downs, you look at things and say, third quarter, third downs, or this or this, but it's the first and second downs that you got to be able to make plays on. They got ball in front of some, and broke us down. And we'll improve on that, and we'll work on that, and be ready to come back next week. And like I said, learn from the things that we've got to learn from, and build off the things we can build off of. So with that, we'll open up for questions.
Please wait for a mic. We'll start up here.
Offensively, it seemed when Haynes had time back there, he threw the ball well, but the second half, their defensive line really put a lot of pressure on him, and that really hurt the offense.
Yeah, it usually does. Early on, we had a couple breakdowns and things, and I thought Buster did a really good job of adapting with some of the play calls and things we were doing, and then you get in some of those situations where we're looking at dollops and shots, and then get the ball really pushed downfield, and obviously those take longer, and like I said, some young guys got out there and got some meaningful downs, and really learn a lot from it, and that's my job is to make sure we make the biggest games really from that first game to that second game.
Secondary got banged up a little bit there in the second half. Any update on guys like Miles Brooks, Miles Sims, any of those guys?
Yeah, not until tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll find out. We'll get the injury report on everybody.
Coach, take us to that fourth quarter with a little bit less than 4. You went forward on 4th and 6. What was the decision behind going forward at that point in time instead of maybe planning to let the defense give them a chance?
Yeah, well, just the flow of the game at that point. They'd broken off some big plays. They were racking up explosives at that time. When you look at momentum of the game, the flow of the game, we had to be able to get something done there. And the way the clock runs now, there might it says 3 minutes 46 seconds on the clock when that time was, and that's not something that you decide at the spur of the moment. That's something that you decide early on in the downs. It's not a drop in the hat and say, oh, let's go for it. That's something you decide early in the downs by the flow of the game. There's 3 minutes 46 seconds on the clock. In the way the clock runs now, that 3:46 isn't like 3:46 used to be. It goes a lot faster. And we need to make our hay there. We knew what type of coverage we'll be in. We had it called up. We got unfortunately we're able to execute the play.
Kelly.
Brent, I was curious, missed tackles seem to really bite you guys at times, especially in the hole on some of those big running plays, and then in space they took advantage of opportunities. Was that something that you saw leading into the game that was a concern, or just jitters, or anything in particular you put your finger on with missed tackles?
No, I mean it's anytime you get guys in space, and as we know, that's what college football is now. It's the battle of the explosives, and I think they won the first quarter, won the second quarter, they won the third. That's kind of how it went back and forth, and that's how explosives occur. Either somebody gets beat on one-on-one, on a route, some sort of a route, or somebody gets beaten and broke down one-on-one in a tackling situation, and they were able to execute in those situations. And, obviously it's something that's one of those things that we'll learn from, and, we'll continue to address and work on and get better this weekend.
In the back there.
Coach Key, what stands out second quarter, remarkable turnabout, and the productivity was off the charts. Was that better execution? Was that adjustments? Was that a personnel change for Georgia Tech? 28 points in the quarter.
Yeah, no, it's it goes with the tempo of the game, the flow of the game. When you're playing with tempo and you get those explosives and you're able to really kind of put your foot on them, momentum starts rolling. And when you're playing with tempo, it's a double-edged sword. It affects both sides of the football. And you got to do our whole thing with tempo is to play tempo that complements the entire football team, not just one side of the ball. And we're able to get in the rhythm there, come out in the second half, and unfortunately, that first series we weren't able to get in the rhythm to get the tempo going. And then later on, we were able to get some tempo moving. So it's all how it's set up, and it goes with the efficiency on first down really allows you to really get into that rhythm.
Yeah, right here.
Right, this week you were talking about you wanting your team to play with poise and be physical and situational football, and there were some things in the fourth quarter I'm sure you feel better about, but overall, just how did you feel about just the play of the team in that quarter?
It's hard to sit here and say you feel good about anything when you come off of a loss like that. It really is. But that's our job is to find the things that we did well and continue to do them well, and find the things that we did not do as well and improve on those. And yeah, I mean, I don't know the sheet in front of me, but I think it was one or two penalties. We challenged them to constantly play with discipline. Continue to make improvements in that. The situational things, some were good and some weren't. It's both sides of the football, all around. So toughness. I mean, I think to the last play, I mean, the guys were playing hard, but there's no trophies for playing hard. It's just part of the equation of being a good football team.
Back there.
Coach, you've spoken often about the process of establishing your identity. I know you were able to do that in the offseason and the camp, but after one game, what's the identity that you feel you guys showed tonight?
Yeah, well, I mean, our identity was in spurts. We had flashes of an identity. We had flashes of the team we want to be, and that is part of the process. When you put things on tape and you show who you can be, then you need to be that. You can't part-time do it and be it, and that'll be a big part of the lessons learned from the game. And for ages, biggest improvements are they're supposed to occur between the first and second game, because now you do have a good feel for how your team competes against another opponent, not just themselves. So we'll take those things and move forward with them and continue to improve into the next football game.
Following up an earlier question, during the week you also said you wanted to see how your team would respond in an adverse situation. When things seemed like things started getting out of control a little bit in the second half, I was just wondering from your viewpoint on the sideline what you saw.
Yeah, that's something you watch closely. You're watching the feel of your team, the flow, how your team's responding to things. Are they getting down? Are they moaning at each other? And there wasn't any of that. There was none of that. It was okay. Hey, we got to get this fixed. We got to get out of the rut. Okay, well, how do you get out of the rut? Help them with some play calls, do some things, and which we did. I thought offensively after those first two drives in the second half, then we kind of started to get back into the rhythm. So you saw the ebbs and flows of the game, and you saw the positives of what can be there with those guys. It'd be real easy when all of a sudden there's a quick run of points like that just to give up and throw the towel in. But I didn't see that at all. So that's an encouraging thing to watch our team build off of.
Time for a couple more, Jackson.
Coach, the running game seemed to find a little bit of a groove in the second quarter and then kind of tailed off in the second half. Was it something the defense was doing? Was it problems up front, or?
No, I mean they did some good things. They made some good adjustments on their side. And we in turn made some adjustments back to it. And, that's part of the chess match of the game. They jumped into a mid pair front and having to, once they did that, then we went back and, adjusted back some the other way, and, you gotta be able to execute when your number's called on, and look, with some of the, the middle field coverages they were playing, and, loading the box up, early on, we were running, some of the stretch zone things, and we get some good creases, and then, as they jumped into the different fronts, and, you saw some, then we started working to take some of the shots and get the ball out of our hands, and, didn't execute on as many of as we needed to, so, we'll continue to, work on it, continue to do better.
Cody and Zach.
What'd you think of Haynes? We obviously saw the wheels a little bit of Haynes King, and do you feel like he is the quarterback that you saw that won this job in the fall? He showed that today?
Yeah, he did. He's made some big time throws. He sat there under duress several times. Showed us, made plays with his feet. We got some yardage. We got positive plays. Pulling the ball down, scrambling, or pulling it down on a read play or design run, and so that was encouraging. It was encouraging to see him sit there and deliver the football. And then we were, a couple inches away from a couple other big ones that we'll continue to close that gap and eliminate that margin.
Last one, David, back.
I know you said it's disappointing, you've been, on the loss, and you've been watching tape. Does it feel like this one slipped away a little bit?
Loss is a loss. There's no asterisk next to one that, was a close loss or slipped away or was a blowout. Loss is a loss, they all feel the same.